I'll try not to read anything into this. Studio Series 86 Voyager Wreck-Gar was a good figure, which garnered a decent review even from me. Pretty much everyone knew Hasbro couldn't resist the urge to remold it, and remold it they have. Say hello to Studio Series 86 Junkheap. In the animated movie, hundreds of Junkion characters were depicted rising up, but the only one they dwelt on was Wreck-Gar. In a show of brazen cash-grabbing desperation, Hasbro took the animation models from some brief fleeting shots and made them the foundation of this figure. I'd seen Junkheap several times on shelves and veered away because of the costs, but the Minions found this one in Ross for only $18. But when you find a good enough bargain, people will generally plonk down their scratch for things that they normally wouldn't consider at full price. Check out the non-existent plastic window and poke the figure within. The character art is duplicated on the side panel, while the back shows studio shots of both modes. And if you use a magnifying glass, his single-sentence bio, reading, "Junkheap leads the efforts to piece together the remains of Ultra Magnus. See his screaming face on the other side. Now let's get Junkheap out and see if we can heap him with praise." Out of box, Studio Series 86 Voyager Junkheap comes with his instruction booklet and a pinwheel axe accessory. And as with most Studio Series figures, it also comes with this delightful cardboard backdrop, which you can use to display the figure itself. In this case, it is an artistic representation of the goofy Junkion Smurf dance scene. Junkheap's alt mode is a modified mirror of Studio Series Voyager Wreck-Gar with the same basic structure, the same spikes, the same studded tires and overall shape. He's got the same lunch boxes mounted at the back, and a clear windshield, but the colors are very different. Junkheap has a lot of gray plastic, which has replaced Wreck-Gar's garish brown and gold flames. The wheel supports are gold up at the front, with dark brown towards the back. Then there are the sculpting differences up front as well. The wheel supports are now rounded instead of squared, and new gray panels have been added, which do a fair job of covering up the exposed robot parts, and gives a more contiguous flow to the bike by having the front and back sections joined together. It rolls on rough surfaces where the tire studs provide grippage, but those same studs won't grip at all on smooth surfaces. There are two kickstands located near the back, so the bike can stand on its own. You can plug the axe onto the back section for storage. There's a 5mm port on each side towards the back. There are also 2 ports on the bottom, which are impossible to use, thank you so very much. But the sculpt work is still good, though they wimped out by making these spiked protrusions rounded, so today's stupid kiddies won't hurt themselves. With this figure, that doesn't make much sense though, because kids are more likely to impale themselves on these longer spikes than on these teeny tiny nubs. Part of the lure for this figure is that the alt mode, while it does have some gappage, is large enough that other figures can use it as a serviceable motorcycle, including Studio Series Wreck-Gar himself, and vice versa. It's large, it's got good heft, and it patterns the movie appearance closely enough to make it a good tribute. 2 new steps that you need to be aware of when transforming is the rotation of the side gray plates. Only rotate them about halfway through, then finish transforming the arms, and rotate them the rest of the way. Otherwise, they're liable to bump into the rubber handlebars and potentially damage them. Once the arms are safely out of the way, you can finish rotating them and budge up these holes into these arm spikes. The horns on the head are also soft rubber, and when threading them through the back of the bike, be sure to use a toothpick or some other thin implement to push them out of the way so that they don't catch on the inside of the hood. Junkheap's robot mode may be a remold of Wreck-Gar, but it's one that does more than just slap on different colors. And yes, the colors are different. Wreck-Gar's rusty brown colors are replaced with a much darker brown, and many of the other parts have been replaced with light gray. The lower body has no significant differences, but the upper body has had quite a few changes. Starting with the head, Wreck-Gar's bearded, mustachioed TV face is replaced with Devo goggles, no facial hair, and a more squarish helmet with horns on the side. The squared shoulders have been replaced with rounded ones, with molded spiky bits on the tops. The forearms have also been rounded off and painted gold, with the new plates on the sides adding more armor. And the chest piece has been redone to mimic the animation model with more sculpted mechanical detail, and these two gray pipes, replacing Wreck-Gar's nipple guns. The animated version had a more rotund and squattish look, but this figure does a passable imitation. The new plating on the arms has made it so the tire accessories can't be plugged in, but you can still plug both of them onto the knee spikes, though this can limit the leg articulation. The axe accessory can still be held in either hand, or plugged onto his back to fan himself and keep cool. The gun on the arm plating does support fire blasts, and the ports on the sides of the shins and the bottoms of the feet can still be used for guns or for fire blast accessories. The articulation is still excellent with this figure, with a 360-degree rotating head once the spikes are folded out of the way. And it can also nod up and down. The shoulders can still do a full rotation, mind the rubber handlebars, and still splay outwards. There's an upper bicep rotation peg, a 90-degree elbow bend, and the elbow will also bend backwards slightly. Ouch! And the hands will fold up and down as part of his transformation. Disengage the hip transformation joint and he has an ab crunch. And if you disengage another transformation joint, you can hinge the back upwards as well. Full waist rotation. The legs will kick forward this far and backwards this far. Move the lunch boxes out of the way, and a soft ratchet will allow the legs to kick outwards. Upper thigh rotations included. The knees will bend backwards 90 degrees, and also forward slightly. The feet will tilt forwards and backwards, and there is also an ankle pivot. The foot articulation and the ab crunches go a long way to making these figures fun to mess around with. Throw in the fact that they can ride each other like bikes, and it makes for some nice combinations. For size comparison, here is Studio Series 86 Voyager Junkheap next to Studio Series 86 Voyager Wreck-Gar. Here is Voyager 86 Junkheap next to Deluxe 86 Perceptor. Here is Voyager 86 Studio Series Junkheap next to Siege Leader Ultra Magnus. And here is Studio Series 86 Junkheap next to Kingdom Commander Class Rodimus Prime. If you have the extra shelf space, and if you can find him at a discount outlet, Junkheap is well worth picking up, particularly if you are a fan of the Junkion characters in general. Positives are that he uses the very solid foundation of Wreck-Gar's mold, with new colors, new sculpting, and some added panels, which keep him just different enough to keep him from being a carbon copy. Both the alt and the robot modes are well contrived and solid. The robot mode still has all of Wreck-Gar's excellent articulation, and you can have either one ride the other if you're one of those bored fanboys who likes to reenact the movie scenes. Negatives are the handlebars are still soft rubber, and so are the head horns, opening up the possibility of future decay and cracking. And you have to be especially careful when transforming the head. People who don't have much shelf space may be put off by how much it's taken up by having both Wreck-Gar and Junkheap together. The new panels make transforming more difficult unless you know which phases to interrupt, and the axe pinwheel accessory is still pretty dang lame. But in the end, Junkheap will look good as part of your Studio Series 86 collection, and even among your Legacy Junkion collection. And I give him 8 out of 10 deaths, if you can find him on the cheap.